Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be recommending to you guys my top 12 in a certain niche genre. And I want to make this a series on my channel where I give you guys my top 12 recommendations for all of these different horror tropes, horror genres, thriller tropes, thriller genres, like subgenre kind of things. So comment down below right now the ones that you want to see. I already have in the works my top 12 most disturbing horror books I've ever read and my top 12 good for her thrillers. But today we are going to be diving into my top 12 cozy thrillers for fall. I feel like November and December is a great time to read those slower paced, more atmospheric mystery thrillers that just keep you on the edge of your seat while immersing you in that fall energy, that cozy vibe. So that's exactly what I'm going to be telling you about today. Also, I just wanted to show you guys my earrings. Yes, this is Pretty Girls. I am wearing Pretty Girls, my favorite book of all time, hanging from my ears. A lovely subscriber made these for me, as well as another cute, adorable thing that you're gonna see during Vlogmas. So Emma, thank you so much for making these. I will link her shop and her Instagram down below. Go check her out. She is phenomenal. And right before we get into the books, I just want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. Let me go ahead and show you a sneak peek of the website and tell you a little bit about them.
Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity, learn new skills, or invest in themselves for personal growth. Have something specific you're trying to learn? Skillshare is the perfect place to start. From photography, illustration, to graphic design, freelancing, and even more, Skillshare has a ton of classes that will match all of your goals and interests. Here you can see that I bookmarked a ton of classes on marketing. My favorite class that I've been taking lately is Marketing for Therapists and Coaches, How to Find Clients by Giorgio Aprile. And honestly, it is so nice to just get a master class with all of the information right there instead of having to go to so many different avenues. And it's a pretty quick course as well.
I love Skillshare so much. So if you want to learn something new, pursue a new passion, and try out Skillshare, go ahead and click my link down below. If you use my referral link, you could get a free month of Skillshare. In fact, you probably will, because the first 1,000 people to click that link get a free month of Skillshare. You just get to try it out. No risk. It's free. So go ahead and click that link, and thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now into my top 12 favorite cozy thrillers for fall. These are going to be in no particular order. I love most of these. I gave most of these 5 stars. And if not 5 stars, like a 4.5 or a 4. They're all beloved thrillers to me. We're gonna go ahead and start with this paperback stack. The first one that I'm seeing is The Housewarming by S.E. Lines. I hear almost nobody talk about this book. I freaking love it. It pulled me right out of a reading slump. And as you can see, like, the cover even speaks to the coziness on the inside of the book. This is a domestic thriller set in the UK. So we're following this family in this cozy little suburban neighborhood where the warm glow of the windows just shine and everyone's looking through their windows, spying on their neighbors. And we follow a mother in the aftermath of a tragedy. She was getting her baby ready to go on a little walk around the block, and she just had to run up and go put a jacket on. So she left her daughter strapped in the stroller downstairs. The door was closed, but it was unlocked. She puts on her jacket, comes back down, and her baby is gone. So now, a year later, she goes to someone's housewarming party on the block, and she starts to put together this information that she's gleaning that might lead to solving the disappearance of her baby girl. It was so intriguing, kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I could not guess where the story was going at any point, and I just loved the cozy atmosphere of like feeling like I was living in this little suburban community that on one hand felt so safe, but on the other hand, you knew there's just like creepy secrets behind every door. Oh my God, it was so good. If you like a good classic British domestic thriller, this one's for you. Staying strong on the British domestic thriller train, I have The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. Ruth Ware, I know a lot of people don't love her books, but a lot of people read them. For me, the biggest draw of a Ruth Ware book is the atmosphere. I think this time of year is the perfect time to pick up a Ruth Ware. She's so good at creating this feeling in the book, and like you feel like you're in the setting that you're reading from. In The Lying Game, we're following 3 women who went to the same boarding school together in high school, and they're coming together for like their 10 or 15 year reunion from graduating from this boarding school. So they all come together on the coast, and I know you're thinking coast, this is a summer book. No, because it's dreary. They're like staying in this lighthouse, and it's raining all the time, and there's thunderstorms, and it's chilly, and you can't go out without your wellies. So it's very much giving the atmosphere that I'm wanting for this time of year. Something nefarious had happened their senior year, right before they all graduated. Okay, Boba. And now they're coming back years and years later for this reunion, and they start putting together the pieces and uncovering secrets from the past. It is very much typical dual timeline domestic thriller, but I don't know, it just had that drama. It wasn't straight drama though. The drama was in this background of like cozy atmosphericness, and it just set it off. It was so much better than you would think. Now, moving back to the States, this is not a British thriller, but it is a domestic thriller. We have The Night the Lights Went Out by Karen Smith. Karen White. I don't know why I said that. And this follows a mother who's new in town to this little Georgia suburb, and she's a little insecure. She doesn't fit in with all these other rich, wealthy women until the queen bee of the town sets her sights on our main character and starts to take her kind of under her wing. And little does she know, a lot more is going on. She might not want to trust these women that she's becoming friends with. And at the same time, there's a dark secret from her past that someone is blackmailing her about. So a lot of moving parts in this story, a lot of drama, but it's just very cozy. There were a lot of these scenes. It like starts in September, so it's like beginning of school time, and it's set in Georgia. So I feel like if you are living in the South like me, it's really difficult sometimes to read books that are set in the winter where it's like really snowy. I like can't even picture that as a Texas girl. But this describes Southern fall and winter perfectly. There are scenes here, I believe, on Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So all the holidays are wrapped up in this book. You follow this family, but specifically the matriarch of the family, as they're going through this drama and uncovering of secrets. It is so good. Next up, we have I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. As you can see by the cover, there's fall leaves. There's like a gloomy atmosphere. This captures the feeling of the book exactly. It's very rainy, very isolated, very secluded, very grief heavy, very creepy, perfect for fall. And in this book, we're following a woman who is recovering from these traumatic events that she has gone through recently. She lost her child, and she had gotten in a car accident. And then we're simultaneously following 2 police investigators. I know what you're thinking, but trust me, the investigator perspective is not boring. I would tell you if it was, because I don't like police perspectives. But this one, I did enjoy. And they're trying to solve a case which we're not sure how it's quite connected to our main character. We don't know, because it's a hit and run case, if it's the car accident that she was in, or if it was the hit and run that killed her son. We have no idea which option it is, and you're kind of like putting together the little clues like a detective as you're reading this one. This one has a wild twist at around the halfway point that I loved. It also has some chapters that are in a second person point of view. So it's written like You by Caroline Kepnes, and I love that perspective. It just is so creepy. It feels like personal, like the narrator is talking to you. I hate it, but I love it at the same time. It is so atmospheric, so twisty. This is a good one. I feel like it was really hyped a few years ago on BookTube, but we need to bring her back. She's great. Jumping back into Ruth Ware, we have The It Girl. This is Ruth Ware's newest release. It was her 2022 release, and I know this one's getting mixed reviews, but I really liked it. I definitely recommend listening along with the audio as you're reading. I think it makes it go a lot faster because yes, this is a slower paced mystery. It does drag a bit, I'm not gonna lie to you, but if you like slower paced stories, I think this is one that's gonna be right up your alley. And even if you don't, I think the audio can help you through. In this book, we're following a group of former college friends, and something crazy happened. A murder happened where the it girl of their little friend group was murdered when they were all in college. And now years later, something is happening to kind of reawaken this case and cause our main character, who is a key witness in the trial, to question her testimony. And she's thinking maybe she got something wrong and she put away the wrong person for the murder of her friend. This is a dual timeline. It's also set in the UK. Can we tell what I like to read during the fall? And in the dual timeline, we're following obviously present day years later, but the other timeline is following them back at college in the 90s. So it's like very dark academia nostalgia. It's kind of giving like British Gossip Girl, like very dark academia vibes. It is so cozy. We're talking about hidden stone stairways and clomping through the rain to get to your next class. I love it. I definitely didn't guess the twist. I guessed a part of one of the reveals, but there was a part of this that did really shock me. So I would say if you're hearing the mixed reviews of this and it's scaring you off, maybe give it a try with the audio. I would also recommend The Therapist by B.A. Paris. This is another domestic thriller, and it's following this little circle of homes in this little community. And they're all very tight-knit, and they're all faced in a circle, so they can all see each other. You can literally look out your window and see all your other neighbors, just like in their windows, in their yards, like everybody's facing each other in this big circle. So a tragedy happens to a therapist who lives in one of the houses in the circle. And then our main characters, this husband and wife, move into this house not knowing about the tragedy. And the wife starts becoming obsessed with finding out what happened, putting the pieces together, figuring out what happened in her house before they moved in. This one is just that cozy suburban feeling. I feel like if you are going home for the holidays, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, and you lived in suburbia growing up, that's kind of how I associate this with like cozy fall vibes, because I'm gonna go back to the suburbs to see my family for the holidays, and I feel like this is just the perfect thing to read in the suburbs and get paranoid about who's looking in your windows at night. Next up, I have a couple recommendations from one of my favorite thriller authors of all time, which is Lisa Jewell. I'm not gonna recommend the ones that people usually recommend when they talk about her. I feel like I Found You and Then She Was Gone are like the two most popular Lisa Jewell Rex. Those are actually not my favorite of hers. Love them, of course, but these two are perfect for fall. The first one has a very similar vibe to The Therapist, where it's like that cozy suburbia paranoia looking through your windows, and that is Watching You by Lisa Jewell. Okay, it does have a crazy ending. I will preface that. If you don't like a little bit of suspension of disbelief in your thrillers, this is not for you. But if you can do that and you like an ending that kind of goes crazy and pops off, then you will really like this one. It is so fun. I don't even know if I want to give a full synopsis of this because there are just so many layers and secrets to uncover as you're reading. Basically, there's a murder that happens. in this quaint little suburb for rich people. So people usually do not get murdered here. This is not a common occurrence, but it happens. And somebody's seeing something. Somebody down the road saw something else, and somebody upstairs heard something that could put the case together and figure out exactly what happened. And there's a huge confrontation at the end of the book. There are very layered twists. It is so intriguing. It is so drama, and that Lisa Jewell atmosphere is right there where we want it. My other Lisa Jewell recommendation for this video is The Girls in the Garden. This one is also kind of similar to The Therapist by B.A. Paris, where there's this group of houses that all like face inward towards each other, and there's this massive garden in the middle, and everybody kind of lets their kids play in this garden. There's always like one or two parents out there supervising, but it's like a pretty trusted thing that these kids can just go play out there, until one of the children comes up dead in the garden, and you're reading trying to figure out who committed this crime. Is it the creepy guy who might be a pedophile down the street? Is it a jealous mother? Is it the child's own mother? Oh, it's drama. It is drama central. I feel like this is one where I had my little list of suspects and I was like, who could it be? Who could it be? And at any given moment, I had like 3 people that I thought it could be. There are so many red herrings in this book. It is like a classic mystery thriller. And it had that atmosphere that's like, you know, just like British cozy, all these houses with suburban paranoia, especially with the garden. Like this is the cozy atmosphere that I'm trying to describe here. Next up, I would recommend 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. And yes, I do have a signed first edition of this book, which made me really happy that I enjoyed it when I read it, because wow, that's fun. I don't usually love Peter Swanson's books. They tend to be a little bit boring, a little bit basic to me, but this one I felt was a great departure from his usual style. We're following a guy who he like works at a bookstore? No, okay. So this other guy works at a bookstore. Okay, this is kind of a convoluted synopsis, bear with me. This guy worked at a bookstore. He put together a list on the internet to promote his bookstore that was like the top 8 most perfect murders in all of mystery thriller fiction. Then our main character saw this list, and he's also an investigator, and he's noticing that these murders around town are starting to match up with this list, and someone is carrying out these 8 perfect murders. So you're trying to figure out how it's happening. Just do be aware going in, this book does spoil the 8 books, the 8 perfect murders on the list. They're all like classics. They're all like kind of boring books. So if you really have a passion about reading one of them, don't read it. But like, who's really gonna read them? The only ones that I feel like people might want to read are the ABC Murders by Agatha Christie, but that's a really quick read if you want to just bang that out before you get to this, and The Secret History by Donna Tartt. But I read this book, and to be honest, I don't remember all the nuances of the ending, so I'm still going to read The Secret History at some point, and I don't feel like this ruined it for me. So yeah, this is a great one. Very atmospheric. It's set in Boston, so it's that like East Coast winter energy where you're stopping along the pier to get some clam chowder to warm your chilled bones because it's just like sleet coming down. I believe when I read this, it was in the summer, and the entire time I was kicking myself wishing that I would have read it in the fall winter time. This is the perfect time to read this book. Also the like cozy mystery Agatha Christie vibes. It's great. The next recommendation I have here is The Whisper Man by Alex North. And this is a serial killer thriller. So we're following a man and his son as they move to this town. And I believe the father had lived there growing up, and something traumatic had happened to him around the disappearances of these young boys. So all these boys disappeared when his dad lived there. I believe either he got abducted and returned, or his best friend got abducted. Something happened traumatic with the dad. And now years and years later, they're back and little boys start going missing again. And obviously this is just traumatic in general for this man, but also he has a little boy. So he's like, fuck, I don't want my little boy to be taken. And you're trying to put together, is this a copycat killer? Is this the same guy who was just never caught? And the person who was the whisper man who would come up to these little boys' windows and whisper, whisper, whisper and abduct them. Is he a ghost? Is he Slender Man? Is he the person that was put away in prison or not? I don't know. You don't know. Read it and find out. But Alex North is really similar to Ruth Ware in the sense where his strong suit in his novels is really the atmosphere that he creates. It is so atmospheric, so cozy, so fall. It's a great one. Next up, I have kind of a weird pick for me. There's a little bit of fantasy vibes in this one, but I love it. And that is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I feel like if I'm ever going to pick up a fantasy book, it's in the month of November. I don't know why. November is just like fantasy month in my brain. It's just cozier or something. I don't know. But this book is definitely mystery thriller, but there's that element of like speculative, fantastical fantasy vibes. Actually, it's more like sci-fi than fantasy. We are following this guy who's in this situation where he wakes up in the morning and he's told that he has to prevent the death of Evelyn Hardcastle. So he's doing everything he can to prevent this eventual death that he knows is coming. He doesn't know how he got here in this mansion with all of these characters, but all he knows is his mission there is to save this girlie's life. But she dies. And then the next day, he wakes up and he has to do it again. And he just keeps getting chance after chance after chance to prevent her death. And you're trying to figure out, who is the murderer? Why is this man trapped here in this Groundhog Day-esque kind of time loop? Who the heck is Evelyn? And what is our main character's connection to her? There are a lot of different layered mysteries to figure out. And it's like got a very specific type of energy that I feel like is specific to the like cozy fall time. It feels like the movie Clue or like Knives Out. It's definitely something like that. It's just that cozy mystery feeling. And it takes place in this like gothic mansion. It feels very vintage. All of the characters are very big. It's very much like Clue, where you have like, you know, Colonel Mustard, Miss Scarlet, blah, 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 Miss Peacock, all those people. And you've got that little suspect list in your head. So this is a great one. I give it 5 stars. It blew my mind at the end. If you are one who likes a big twist, oh, the payoff of this one is so good. And the final book, the 12th book that I want to recommend you in this video is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I know a lot of people prefer The Silent Patient, me included, out of Alex Michaelides' work, but I think The Maidens is so much better if you're looking for a fall read. This one has, similar to The It Girl, very, very, very strong dark academia vibes. I think if you like this one, you'll like The It Girl and vice versa. I would also stick In My Dreams I Hold a Knife in there. If you like In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, you will like The It Girl and The Maidens, because they all have that like British college dark academia fantasy. Not fantasy as in fantasy, as in fantasy. You know what I mean? Like she's giving the fantasy. And in this book, we're following a woman who's a therapist, and her niece is at this college where a murder takes place. And for some reason, she thinks because she's a therapist, she's like qualified to go figure out what's happening with this murderer. It starts on like the pretense of her being like, oh, I need to go comfort my niece. So then she goes there and she's like giving her the grief counseling moment. But it somehow gets into her being the little murder investigator. Me, I'm a therapist. Would I ever consider myself a murder investigator? No. I don't know what this woman is on. Again, this requires a little bit of suspension of disbelief, but we follow our little investigative therapist queen as she dives into the history of the school, and specifically of this creepy professor who has this little harem of young, attractive female students that calls themselves the Maidens. And our main character believes that this weird cultish study group may have led to the death of her niece's friend. So you're following the mystery in the cozy dark academia vibes, and it's a great one. I read this one last year in my dark academia reading vlog, and I loved it. chef's kiss, amazing, so fun, so fast paced. I remember reading this one super, super quick, like in a matter of hours in a couple sittings. So those are my top 12 cozy fall thriller recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Go down below and click that Skillshare link. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring. And don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next one.